Hey there, and welcome. So, when you hear the phrase reproductive health, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's just the biology basics, but it's so much more than that. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the whole picture, from personal well-being to huge global challenges, and even the incredible tech that's shaping our choices. All right, let's get into it.
Here's a quick look at where we're headed. First, we'll get on the same page and define what reproductive health really is. Then, we'll zoom out to tackle the big picture population question. After that, we'll dive into all the different options for contraception, navigate some critical topics around health and safety, and finally, we'll explore the amazing science that gives a helping hand when conception is a challenge.
So first things first, what are we actually talking about when we say reproductive health? It's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, but its real meaning is way deeper than just not having a disease or an illness. The World Health Organization gives us a really powerful definition here. It's not just about your body working correctly. Real reproductive health is a state of total well-being. That means physically, emotionally, behaviorally, and socially. Think about that. It means people having safe relationships and, crucially, the freedom to make their own informed choices. And understanding that big definition is so important because it leads us right into one of the biggest conversations of the past century, the challenge of our planet's exploding population. Just look at these numbers for a second. In 1900, there were about 2 billion people on Earth. Fast forward 100 years to the year 2000, and that number tripled to 6 billion. And then in just the next 11 years, it shot up again to 7.2 billion. That is an absolutely explosive rate of growth, all driven by things like better healthcare and people living longer.
And the stakes couldn't be higher. When you grow that fast, you put incredible pressure on the absolute basics: food, shelter, clothing. This is exactly why family planning became such a critical goal for governments all over the world. Fun fact, India was actually one of the very first countries to launch national family planning programs way back in 1951.
Okay. So if that's the massive challenge, what are the solutions? Well, this brings us to all the different tools and methods we have for birth control, the things that give people the power to choose when and if they start a family.
You can really group contraceptives into a few big categories. On one side, you have natural methods. These are all about timing intercourse to avoid the fertile window. The upside? No devices. The downside? The failure rates can be kinda high. On the other side, you've got barrier methods, which, just like the name says, create a physical wall to stop sperm from getting to the ovum.
Now, the condom is probably the most famous barrier method out there. It's a simple sheath that stops semen from entering the reproductive tract. But here's its superpower. It has a crucial dual benefit. It doesn't just prevent pregnancy, it's also one of our best tools for preventing the spread of sexually transmitted infections, or STIs, including HIV.
Another hugely popular and effective method, especially in India, is the intrauterine device, or IUD. This little T-shaped device gets inserted into the uterus by a doctor. The copper ions it releases basically make it impossible for sperm to swim properly and fertilize an egg. It's a fantastic long-term option for spacing out pregnancies.
Then you've got the hormonal methods. These usually work by preventing ovulation in the first place. This category includes the daily birth control pill, longer-acting injections, and emergency contraception. And a really cool innovation from India is a pill called Saheli. It's non-steroidal, you only take it once a week, and it has very few side effects.
And implants? Well, they work on the same hormonal idea as the pill, but they're more of a set it and forget it kind of deal. These tiny little rods are placed right under the skin and release hormones slowly over a long time, giving you effective contraception for years.
And finally, for people who are absolutely sure they don't want any more children, there's sterilization. For women, it's called a tubectomy, where the fallopian tubes are tied. For men, it's a vasectomy. These are considered terminal methods. They're incredibly effective, but, and this is a big but, they're very difficult to reverse.
So having all these choices is one thing, but navigating them safely is another. And that brings us to some really critical and sometimes difficult parts of reproductive health: understanding STIs and the choice of pregnancy termination.
In India, medical termination of pregnancy, or MTP, was made legal back in 1971. This was a massive step to stop people from resorting to unsafe, illegal procedures. But it's not a free-for-all. It comes with very strict rules. The whole process is regulated based on how far along the pregnancy is, and it's only permitted on specific grounds, like if the mother's life is at risk or the fetus has a severe abnormality.
Okay, let's talk about STIs.
These are infections passed through sexual contact. And here's the key thing you need to know. Many of them, like gonorrhea and syphilis, are totally curable if you catch them early. But others, like hepatitis B, genital herpes, and HIV, are not. That's why early detection is everything. Untreated STIs can cause serious, long-term problems.
But here's the good news. Prevention is actually pretty simple. Following just a few basic rules can slash your risk. The main takeaway is this: be smart, use protection, like condoms, and if you have any doubt, go see a doctor. It's that straightforward.
You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about how to prevent pregnancy, but for millions of couples, the challenge is the complete opposite. So for our last section, let's flip the coin and explore the world of infertility and the technologies that help create families.
When couples struggle to conceive, they might turn to what's called assisted reproductive technologies, or ART. You've definitely heard of the most famous one, IVF, the test tube baby method, where fertilization happens in a lab. But there are other cool techniques too. ZIFT, for example, puts a brand new zygote back into the fallopian tube, while ICSI is this ultra-precise procedure where a single sperm is injected right into an egg.
I mean, this technology is just incredible, right? It takes so much skill and expertise, but it also makes you stop and think. With all these amazing high-tech options on the table, what really is the best way for a couple to become parents?
And that question leads to a really powerful answer. Because while science offers one path, we can't forget that another, deeply profound option exists. Especially in a country like India, with so many children who need a safe and loving home, legal adoption is often called one of the best methods for couples. It's a beautiful way to build a family, and it's a perfect reminder that at the end of the day, parenthood is all about care, love, and connection.